Hello everyone, welcome back. Spring is here, and of course the chalk bark maple. I was out of town for 3 days. There was no buds on the tree. 3 days, this is actually the fourth day being back, and you see what I've got. Exploded with growth. I kind of missed my opportunity, my window opportunity on this tree to do what I was trying to do this year. I've got 4 inches of growth here in literally 4 days. So it's kind of damage control at this point. Unfortunately, I didn't get the opportunity to do what I wanted to do, but what I'm going to do is we're going to zoom into the canopy on this tree, and I'm going to cut everything back to 2 sets of leaves. I'm hoping what that'll do is that I want to make this tree back bud this year again, so then I can do the technique that I wanted to do. If not, at least we got it under check as much as we can for this season. So let's go ahead and zoom in and get started. There's some other decisions I'm going to make as well. I've noticed on some of these where it's budded out, there is a secondary flesh already that's coming out that's shorter, so we may just cut back to those like we did last year as well. So let me go ahead and zoom into this and then we'll get started. So okay, we're back. As you can see, this canopy is just exploded with growth. All I'm going to be doing is going to each one of these and cutting it back to 2 sets of leaves, or 1 set of leaves I guess you could say, around the entire tree to try to promote that back budding down low. Anything that's growing straight up we'll cut back altogether and just eliminate. I'm going to leave a little bit of a nub, hoping we can get some back budding back in those sites as well. But missed my window of opportunity. Was out of town, didn't have a chance, and it jumped out on me. So we gotta do what we can do. I'm hoping that what I'm doing now will, number one, obviously prevent any further extension on these branches, but at the same time, hopefully we'll get some back budding. So I'm just going to go through here, like I said, just cut all these completely back to 1 set of leaves. And I'm going to do that on the entire tree. I'm hoping that eventually, when this tree gets a little more root bound than it is, that'll help satiate this want to explode with growth every spring. But that may just be the genetic makeup of this tree. It is an understory tree, first and foremost. So maybe being in a bonsai situation versus in an understory tree situation, this tree is trying to become the dominant. And that's why it does this with its growth. But it's just getting grossly out of control for what we want in bonsai. So we'll do what we can with it. I mean, it's not grossly out of control for the scale of this size, but if you were trying to make this tree into something small, like a shohin or a momme, there'd be no way you could do that. Just the nature of the tree prevents it, doesn't lend itself for that kind of work. I do got a bunch this up here that was going to potentially be the leader. I'm cutting it off because I've got a bunch of smaller ones here that looks like maybe just a day or so ago they decided to branch out, and they have not extended as much as the rest, so we'll just cut these back and hopefully that stops the auxins from telling it to expand. Just can't believe how fast this thing shot out. I mean, literally when I left, the buds were swelling And that was 4 days ago. So this thing just goes nuts with the growth. And there are some back down low in here that have just started to come out, so we're going to keep our fingers crossed that those will slow down. We're going to cut all of them back, like I said before. Everything. Here's one that's just now coming out. It looks like it just budded out this morning. I'm actually clipping the growing leader out of it right now, and we'll see how far that extends from there. Just as an experiment. That's the thing about working with species that nobody has been working with for a long time. You've got to kind of use trial and error to come up with techniques as to what to do to try to get the tree to do what you're asking it to do. In nature, they don't want to do that. They want to be a tree. And, you know, me trying to recreate that in miniature, it's not what the tree's programmed to do. So it may take a few years of doing this, even constantly every year, to get the tree to realize that it needs to maybe take a different approach at its growing habits. Then again, it may never. But they're awesome trees. The leaves do reduce very well, but this crazy extension growth is a downside to the species. Like I said before, I'm hoping that by doing this, every year these trees grow, they have a dormant bud at the base where they emanate from in the event that there's damage that occurs, so the tree can rapidly regenerate itself if necessary. You know, for instance, if this tree was on the coast somewhere and a hurricane happened to come by and strip all the leaves off of it, the tree still has the ability to regenerate those leaves. So that's what I'm kind of doing here, is I'm kind of playing on that philosophy that the tree will have the ability to do that. And my guess is it would also stunt the growth of that tree for the season, because it's having to exert more energy this year versus the following year. But trees also don't get fertilizer like bonsai do, so hopefully that won't be an issue as well. We've got to think about all these things. For instance, Japanese white pine put out one flush of growth a year, where a trident maple or even a Japanese maple, you can get anywhere from 2 to 3 flushes of growth in 1 year from a healthy tree. That's why a lot of folks before a show will completely defoliate a trident maple or a Japanese maple in order to get those really small leaves before a show. Let's grow straight down, we don't need that. You get a little bit smaller pair of scissors to do this with. You get some of those really, really small ones that they have available for doing this particular work. but we'll make do with what we have. I have to say, this is the craziest growth habit I've seen of any kind of tree. It just explodes with growth. Alright, well, there's still buds starting to bud out of this tree, and as soon as they get to the point where you can actually tell that there's a leaf on them, I will pinch out the center growing shoot. Everywhere else on this tree has been cut all the way back to one set of leaves, and so hopefully that'll kind of stunt any more extension growth, but at the same time I'm hoping to get some back budding down further in on the tree, which will allow us to maybe cut back to those secondaries on this tree this season. So we'll just have to keep an eye on it. I can't believe how fast this thing leafed out again. I know I keep sounding like a broken record on that, but it's just amazing how fast this thing busted loose with growth. So, still going through here and getting a couple little scragglers I left. We'll do a quick 360 on the tree, stick it back out on the bench, and we'll revisit this one midsummer. Thanks for watching.